Hey everyone, it's Danielle Marie from the One Realty here in Austin, Texas. And we're going to break down today where we came out in March for the Austin real estate market. So we're going to look at where we are year over year, where we are month over month, where we compared to where we ended last year at the year to date. And then we will also talk a little bit about the where we are historically in the number of sales for the month of March. So if you haven't seen my show before, or I say my show, my streams before, feel free to subscribe or like and save it so that you can find me in the future. We'll break down weekly kind of what's happening in the Austin market, and then I really like to break down monthly so you kind of give an idea of what is the steady stream of what is happening in the Austin real estate market. So without further ado, I am going to hop on and show you, and we're going to pop up to essentially, I like to track monthly what is happening, weekly what is happening. What you're seeing here right here is where we are for the month of March. So in March, we closed 775 homes. Now, that is better than last year. Last year, we closed 717. So you're going to see the year over year difference. It's, we're up 8% as far as the number of sales. Now, everything that we talk about has to be taken into context. In perspective, last year, if we go all the way back to 2005, last year was the recorded lowest number of sales that we've had in any March since 2005. So me saying that we beat last year, okay, that's great. But if we look at it from historical context, it's kind of a little bit worse off. So if I go all the way back to 2005 and I want to see, hey, what is our historical average? Where are we below? Well, we're about 179 homes below, so almost 18% below where we have historically the number of homes that we have sold since 2005 in every March. So a little under the gun. If we do look at where we were in 2023, 2024, 2025, so the past 3 years have kind of been brutal years, we sold more this year than each of those 3 individual years. So since 2022, this March has been the best year. Now, that can also go back to, if we talk about where we are with mortgage rates, that's going to kind of play into it. We can kind of jump into that in a little bit. So first and foremost, year over year, we are up 1% for our average at 828,000 is our average sales price. Our median sales price at 600,000, which is down 1.6% from last year. So it's kind of evens each other's out. I always like to look at what is our median square footage, because if all of a sudden we're selling extremely large square footage or extremely small square footage, that's going to kind of change a little bit of our stats. But we're selling pretty much the same size house we did last year. Days on market, we're actually lower this year, which makes sense because we sold more homes in March than we did last March. So homes moved slightly quicker, nothing major. Our median was down 5 days, so almost a week quicker on the median side. So that's a positive. If we like to see how much wiggle room are buyers and sellers getting, that's where we kind of like to look at what is our close price to list price. So what did we close at compared to our last list price? And also, where did we close at compared to our original list price? And if you can see year over year, it's very, very similar. There wasn't much change here. So we're looking at year over year, you're looking at close to list price. You're looking at 2 to 2.5% is kind of where the median and the average is for what we're closing at compared to what it's being listed at. If we go back to the original, so when the sellers first came to the market, where are we closing at? That's a little bit more between 4 to, you can see 5.5% right here, based on our average and our median. So we are having to do numerous price drops necessarily to get a house under contract. So it's very, very important when you are listing your house for you to understand where you stand in the context of things. Are you vastly over market? Are you vastly under market? That's going to really play a key into getting to your home sold. As well as if you're buying, that's when you strategically look to see, okay, are the sellers having price drops? How often are they having price drops? Maybe this is showing the motivation of the seller is because they're doing price drops every 2 weeks on the dot. There's something kind of behind that. So that's when you need to have your agent look into it with the seller's agent. Now, that's just year over year. How are we performing month over month? So if we look at a normal year, we are going to typically see it gets stronger from March. We get stronger April, May, June kind of starts to drop off a little bit. So we're comparing this March to where we were in February last month. So if we look at that, where we closed out, this is going to be the difference right here is going to be, let me pull this up. Sorry, I'm human right there. So right here, this was where we were March this year. Here's our difference. So this is going to be comparing this month over month right here is comparing to where we were in February. So just off the charts better. And I say compared to where we were in February. So you can see our sales were up about 35% homes. You can see the average price point up 9%. So up another 69,000 compared to where we were in February. Our median price is up 30,000, 5.5%. Overall, the number of days on market, like this right here, is crazy. We're talking our median days on market. We are like 4 months. We sold 4 months quicker. So that meant that when we had new houses hitting the market, there were buyers waiting. So February was kind of getting rid of old inventory. When we hit March, we had houses that were selling substantially faster. And the reason that these dates went down was we had buyers that were waiting. And I can say firsthand, I've got multiple buyers who I have thankfully now under contract after having multiple offers multiple times, is that there's a lot of buyers that are just sitting on the sideline waiting, A, because of interest rates, but 2, also waiting for the right home to come on the market. So when that right home comes onto the market, they're ready to act. And so that's why we saw days on market drop drastically for our sales. Not overall for what is active, but for our sales, we saw a dramatic decrease is because we had buyers that were sitting and they were ready to buy, and they were waiting for their house that they wanted to hit the market. And when it did, they were going under contract. So that's what we're seeing right here. You can also see that our close to list price, that kind of stayed the same, which isn't surprising. But what you're going to see right here, the close to original list price, you can see, hey, we're up 2%, whereas we were lower in February. So in February, at like 94% was our close to original list price for our median, meaning sellers got more towards their list price or their original list price in March than they did in February. Makes sense because a lot of times the newer listings are coming on. That goes back to my theory again, that there were buyers waiting to buy and they had to wait till those houses hit the market in March and end of February for March closings for that to happen. So we did see an increase in buyers. I have a feeling that we are going to see this trend continue when we look at April's numbers. I've seen lots of multiple offers. When I say lots, I don't mean a ton. I'm not trying to spur everyone into, hey, there's tons of multiple offers. It's more so that we're seeing more multiple offer activity than we have in the past 3 years. That's just we haven't had buyers. Buyers really haven't been there. The inventory, yes, we've had lots of inventory, but maybe it was based on the prices were high. Maybe it was based on mortgage rates. Maybe it was based on uncertainty in the tech industry out here, kind of where we are and what we're seeing. That being said, if we look at where we were in December, so I'm comparing now where we were in March to December. So that's year to date. This is looking at December's numbers. If you look at December's numbers, very close. So we're not seeing any, major drop off. It's plus or minus a few thousand as far as our average and our median, and that can go back straight to square footage. What we are seeing a big increase is our close price to our original list price. And that was because the homes that were sold in December were hitting the market when it was absolutely abysmal. They were going under contract in October, November, when homes just weren't selling. It was like there was a pause button that was pushed, and we just weren't seeing a lot of activity. So today's activity compared to December is significantly better. And then here's what I'll show you right here is if you look, here is March of 05 to March of 25 last year. And you can see our average has been 944 sales was our average, median 950, high in 2006, 1,366, and the low last year at 717. And this year we're at 775. And so to kind of put that in perspective, I like to look at where are we like across the board. So if this is my numbers that I like to keep track of, here we're in March, here's all of the sales in March going all the way back to 2005. And you can see that if we look at where we were selling for each month, we sold fewer homes in 2010 and 2011 than this month. And then the next time where we sold fewer homes, it doesn't happen until 2023. So that was right after everything in August of 2022, everything paused in Austin. So 2023 had fewer sales, 2024 had fewer sales, 2025 had fewer sales. This is the first year where we are kind of seeing sales come back in Austin for the month of March, and not even really come back. Because if we look at historically, where we actually should be for March. So historical average, we're looking at 944 and 950 for the median. We are still significantly under those numbers. So that's why I say is I'm not seeing a big rush to Austin. We're not seeing houses flying off the market. I'm not going to be the real estate agent that tells you that. I am to say that we are seeing a little bit more activity. So maybe it's a little more, I say positivity, certainty, but I would be remiss if I did not add to the fact that it was, oops, I'm going to remove this. It was also, we have to look at interest rates. So that is something that, I mean, without a doubt, if we go all the way back to 2022 and we look where interest rates are, and I'll share that right now, just so if you're following along, you can see what's happening. If we look at where our interest rates, and we go all the way back to 2022, and that's where we were lowest, you can kind of see that we went up. And this is really the first significant drop where we saw a significant drop for a significant amount of time, to where buyers that were waiting on the side decided to, okay, it looks like it's stabilizing. I'm going to get in. I'm seeing interest rates go down. So we've had kind of dips here and there. So you can kind of see that was that September or October of 2023, we saw it. Then we saw in September, we saw the really big dip in 24, right around elections. Then we kind of went up. And then we've kind of been trailing off since the middle of the year last year, with a little spike up here recently in the spring. So, and that's kind of where, if you look right here, so we go February and we go to March, middle of March, we did see a spike in interest rates. I'm going to be really not surprised. We'll probably see kind of a slowdown a little bit of buyers, and not the full normal rush that we see in the springtime probably happened. And we're going to see that kind of in April's numbers. But I do think that we're going to outperform April of 2025, so last year. So with that, my name is Danielle Fountain. I'm the founder of the One Realty here in Austin, Texas, where we take a data-driven all-in-one approach to real estate. I will say this is general numbers for Austin. Please, if you are buying and selling, do not use this as your sole data point for what you should do in the market. And the reason I say that is there are niche markets that are moving. There are niche markets that aren't moving. You have to understand what your buy box is and what your sell area is. So what are the strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats of your listing? If you're listing a house, you have to understand kind of what you're up against and what makes your house more valuable than others, or how to present it in a way. So if you have questions about the Austin real estate market, and we really want to dive into a particular area that you're looking into, or your specific house, feel free to reach out. You can find me at Danielle@theonerealty.com. For my email, you can also go to www.theonerealty.com, and you will find all of my information there. With that, I hope you have a wonderful day. Happy Tuesday. Let's go crush the rest of this week.